Open section, Anna?
The time is 7:12. Everybody's still present.
Let everybody sit down. It's on open session, we have a presentation, discussion, possible action regarding adoption of the resolution approving the contingency legal service agreement with JCA Law, PLLC and Genera LLP, and finding the need for submission of the contingency fee legal service agreement to the Texas Attorney General for approval and request review and consideration.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees take possible action regarding adoption of a resolution approving a contingency legal services agreement with JCA Law, PLLC, and Guerra LLP, and finding the need for submission of the contingency fee legal services agreement to the Texas Attorney General for approval and request for expedited review and consideration.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Neill, second by Mr. Cruz. Questions, concerns?
Yes, the only thing I have is that the way it reads in the agenda, it says there's a presentation. Are they gonna give a presentation? Are they required to give a presentation of the fees?
Is Mr.
Wasn't that done last?
Yeah.
It's not necessary, sir.
No,
Last year.
he's not on,
Mandatory.
Well, I'm just saying what the member's asking if it needs to be.
No,
So we had the
if it's
presentation.
mandatory, ask for a vote, all in favor?
Oh, I got confused now.
5-2, motion carries. Okay, item B, discussion possible action regarding the adoption of the approval of a contingency for fees legal services agreement with JC A Legal, ELLC, and Guerra LLP, authorizing board president to execute such an agreement for the purpose of pursuing litigation and cause of action and potential recovery of damage against social media companies resulting from the student social media usage.
the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees take action regarding the adoption and approval of a contingency fee legal services agreement with JCA Law, PLLC, and Guerra LLP, and authorizing the board president to execute such an agreement for the purpose of pursuing litigation and causes of action and the potential recovery of damages against social media companies resulting from student social media usage. And this is based on the presentation made to the board in closed session last week.
Okay. So a motion to approve? Moved by Cruz Mata, second.
Second.
Ronia. Questions, concerns? Not all in favor? Against? All in favor, some no. Passes. C, consideration approval of the employment of new professional staff.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the employment of new professional staff as discussed and closed.
Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Espinosa, second.
Second.
Second by Semi. Questions, concerns? Not all in favor? So no. The consideration to approve the employment of new at-will staff.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the employment of new at-will staff as discussed and closed.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Espinosa, second
Second.
by Semi Houston. Questions, concerns?
I guess, Miss, do any of these positions close any of the open positions that are posted online?
I'm sorry?
Do any of these positions, are they intended to fill any of the open positions that are?
Some of them do, and some of them will remain open.
That's why I was telling her, to tell Mr. Alvarado
to update the,
on what we hired today, on your advertisement, clean it, and put it on the, Ms. Fernandez will talk to you about that.
Yes, sir.
About, the officers.
yes, sir.
Okay, when you vote, all in favor? Peggy?
No.
No? Okay, 6-1. So we go to 7, consent action items. A, consider to approve the minutes of the board meetings held on May 12, special, May 12, regular, May 19, special. I don't know if you all want to approve the bills also on this motion.
I move that that the board approve both A and B.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bonilla to approve A and B, motion.
Second.
I mean, all in favor? Passes. Okay, number C, we're not gonna take, any action. And then we go to action items. A, discussion action to approve a donation from Rocky Bosques.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the donations from Rocky Bosques for the 25-26 Starlet Dance Team. And on page 192 of your board packet, you have the email that was made to the district. It's a donation of T-shirts for a total cost of $657.60 for the Starlet Dance. And Ms. Gonzalez is here in case you all have any questions for the receipt of the donation.
Are any questions from Ms. Gonzalez?
No, it's very generous of him. There.
Not, I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Grant, second by Cruz Mata. Questions, concerns? Not, all in favor? 7-0. On B, no action. C, discussion action to consider approval of the OPA of the new paraprofessional position for P instructional aid.
The
Sorry,
I apologize, Mr.
Go ahead,
Espinosa.
Mark.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the opening of a new paraprofessional position of a P instructional aide at Sterling H. Fly Junior High School. Mr. Alvarado is here in case you all have any questions. The rationale is that we need to ensure equity, so if we have a female coach, we need to have a male paraprofessional and vice versa. If we have a male coach, we should have a female paraprofessional to meet the needs of the students. So we're asking the board to grant us that one position.
So this one will be advertised.
Yes, if the board should approve it, yes, sir.
So a motion by Mr. Spinoza, second by Sammy. Questions, concerns?
I have a question or comment.
Yes, sir.
So if the PE coach is a male, we advertise, we're gonna say we need a female
Paraprofessional.
paraprofessional, and that's legal.
Well, we're going to advertise for paraprofessional. We are looking for a female counterpart.
Okay.
Not somebody that could do the job. We're going to use the word female.
We need to make sure that we ensure equity to represent both boys and girls.
And again, it's because of, if we have a female, and there's a problem, with the,
To address the
boys,
needs of the students,
then,
yes, equitably, yes, sir.
okay.
This isn't taking the position of the actual position that's open, right? The PE position?
No, that's a that's a teaching position.
Motion? Second. All in favor? Peggy?
No.
Okay. Okay, C, discussion.
Number 9.
Going into to informational discussion items, superintendent's report.
As of the end of the school year, our district enrollment, our active enrollment on page 207 of your board packet was at 1,559. That was our active enrollment. And on page 206, our end of school year attendance was at 91%. So we held 91% for the duration of the last couple of marking periods.
Are you going to keep the truant officers in place?
Yes, ma'am. And the next is presentation of end-of-year student data. Mr. Moreno will present. Good afternoon, Matthew.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and present our STAR scores for the year from 2025, our spring STAR scores. I'm going to go ahead and start off with our EOCs, our end of course exams. So starting off, we're going to start off with English 1. English 1 had an approaches of 58%, up 11% from last year. Meets was 40% and our masters was an 8%. English 2, we took a little bit of a dip of about 4 points, and we were at 57%. Meets 35 and masters at 3%. Algebra 1 at high school, we increased by 6% to go to 67% at approaches, 21% meets, and 2% mastery. Bio, our bio kids, we took an increase of 5% to make it 84%, 42% at meets, and 2% at mastery. Our U.S. histories took a little bit of a dip, down 4 points to 93%, 43%, and 9%. And then our Algebra 1 students took a dip of 11 to go down to 89%, with meets at 68% and masters at 5%. And one thing I want to make note of these scores, these scores include all of our retesters. Meaning, kids who have previously failed and had to retake the test, those are these scores. If you want to flip the page to the next one, our next page shows exactly the kids who are actually in the course, actively were with our teachers every single day that they were present. So for English 1, again, this is without our retesters, we were up 14% compared to last year with the same group, the groups of kids, to 70%. Approaches, meets 53%, masters 10%. Our English 2, we dipped a little bit compared to last year. We were down 4 to 66% at approaches, 41% meets, 3% masters. Our algebra was up 12% to 78% approaches, meets 24%, and masters 2%. Biology was up 7% to 87%. Meets was at 45, masters was at 3. Our U.S. history, there were no retesters, so that it stayed the same. It was 93 to 112.
Hey, is he in the room? He always does good.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was there. Yes, it was just a bigger class. I think it was only like 4 extra students that didn't pass this year compared to last year.
He always.
Yeah, he does really well. History about it does really, really well. Before I move on, are there any questions either for me or for Ms. Houston on, because we're going to leave high school and we're going to talk just 3-8 before we move on.
Can you just give a quick explanation of what the difference between approaches and meets is?
So approaches means that we are getting the students to grade level. Meets means we are on grade level, and then masters means they're college and career ready. So that's how you could use. And approaches is by TA is passing. Anyone that approaches is passing. All right. You want to go down to the next one? Yes, sir. To the red one. So we're going to go ahead and go into our math scores. I'm going to go grade 3 through 8. So grade 3 took a dip of about 4 percentage points to approaches of 72%, meets of 45%, masters of 12% at 12%. Grade 4 had an increase of 10% to 58%, 27% at meets, and 13% at masters. Grade 5 had an increase of 10% to 54%, meets 27%, masters 10%. Grade 6 had a decrease of 12% to 50% approaches, 11% meets, and 1% masters. Grade 7 had an increase of 6% to 50% approaches, 33% meets, and 9% masters. And then grade 8 we saw a decrease of 17% to 63% approaches, 35% meets, and 8% masters. That was our math scores. Then we're going to move to the blue, which is RLA. RLA saw an increase in third grade. We saw a decrease of 2 percentage points to a 69. A meets a 42%, and masters 17%. Grade 4, we saw an increase of 10% to 70% at approaches, meets 30%, and masters at 2%. Grade 5, we saw an increase of 2% to 54%, meets 35%, masters 8%. Grade 6, we saw a decrease of 3% to 58%, meets 36%, masters 12%. Grade 7, approaches, we had an increase of 11% to 67%, meets 32%, masters 13%. Grade 8, we had an increase of 4 to 73%, meets 34%, and masters 11%. And that was our RLA, Reading Language Arts. Next is the green one, and that's science. Science for grade 5 had an increase of 5% to 59%, meets 21%, masters 6%. Grade 8, we had an increase of 12%, meets 28%, masters 2%. And those are our science scores. And then our last one is our social studies scores, which we saw an increase of 3% in our approaches to 56%, meets 25%, masters 11%. So overall, we did see increases in our scores. We did see a couple of dips here and there, but overall, for the most part, we saw increases across the board, especially in our RLA. We did see increases compared to last year. Are there any questions?
The last part, you said you saw increases on the RLA?
RLA, yeah. We saw increases in 3 through 8. We saw increases in RLA. We saw increases in science, in both of the science tests and the social studies tests. Math, we took a couple of dips in a couple of grade levels, but we also increased of the 6th grade levels, we increased in 4 of them,
So Matthew, we're still star, right?
I'm sorry?
We're still star.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Didn't make it through the,
Still, yes. As far as I know, it didn't make it to the governor's desk. So star, we should be expecting star by the end of next year.
Did we,
Go ahead.
did we get our district ratings?
No, sir, not yet. They haven't been released.
That will be when,
August.
That will be along with the 2024?
I don't know about 2024, but I would know the 2025 they're scheduled to be released in August. 2024 is the one that's in litigation, so we'd have to wait to see.
So this is not gonna be in litigation? Oh, no, I mean,
Not as,
I bet already got what they wanted, so.
Yes.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Matthew, I do have a question on the approach that you, I guess, take as far as teaching. Is the goal just to meet approaches, or are we teaching at a higher level where we can increase masters?
Yeah, the goal should always be meets, because I know when we talk amongst the teachers, approaches to us really isn't at grade level. We want to get the students to grade level, so the goal should always be meets. I know when we talk as instructional coaches, we were always, approaches is passing, but meets is the goal. And especially because for domain 3 is all about meets and masters. If we don't get meets and masters, then we won't meet domain 3, which is closing gaps.
Like you, Matthew, doing the presentation or with the principals, like, you don't look at, like, for example, in the approaches to meet, how close are they to meet, or how close are they?
Yeah, that's something that we definitely do, especially throughout the year when we do our benchmarks. We typically try to go,
But with this,
Oh yeah, for this, yes, definitely for this. I know for example, I'm just gonna use the biology, because I was in the biology classroom. So I went and I automatically looked to see who were those 5 kids who were about 5 to 7 questions from approaches, 5 to 7 questions from meets, 5 to 7 from masters. And I know that's a practice that we've had in our district. That's kind of been something that we've been doing these last couple of years. It's, we kind of look to see those bubbles kids, because next year, especially when it comes to domain 2 and the growth, we need to push those kids into the next level. So that way we can.
Like, Ernest, can we get some information on that on the July meeting? Just on the approaches, I mean, how close to me?
In a general presentation, yes, we can work on it.
Do we, if I may, oh, I'm sorry, Senator.
No, sir, no, I didn't have a question.
I know that the word tracking is not a good word. It wasn't back then, and I don't think it still is. But do we follow each class from the time they take a test in 3rd grade, and then how they did in, like, the current 8th graders in reading and math? Do we see how they, on a chart somewhere, we see how they did in 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, and 3rd grade? Because I understand about trying to see what questions the kids might be having trouble. And if we just look at 1 year, it might not be that indicative as to what they're having trouble with. But if you go back and of course you examine the exam that was given, we can see maybe that particular class is having issues with one form of question, and that is all the way to 3rd grade. Are we doing that?
Yeah, that's something that we do. We do give out historical data. For example, even just for this meeting, I gave out last year's data to the principals. We use our iStation data as well to kind of help us out. Like, so for example, we know in RLA, one of the main issues that we have is spelling. Spelling is something that we kind of have to address when it comes to that. Or in math, it's typically fractions. We kind of know doing that, we track them along throughout the last couple of years to see, hey, this class was struggling with fractions last year. They're still struggling with fractions in 4th grade. Next year, 5th grade. Typically what we do is we also kind of get that accelerated instruction in the summer, hopefully to get fractions. If not, we can make sure that we hit it in 5th grade.
What does the district do for these individuals or the students that are at the approaches? When I read through some of the definitions of approaches, it describes a student that is almost a grade level but needs intervention. Mm-hmm. I think a couple of years ago, the district had interventionists hired, right? Does the district provide any of that, or what's the plan for?
We still offer interventionists. Now, it's if the people have applied for them, that's kind of a different scenario. And then I know at high school, we have classes, especially in the master schedule. Especially this coming year, we're going to have classes in the master schedule to help address those retesters. Because typically, for example, like in English, if they struggled in English 1, they're going to struggle, they're going to get there in English 2, so that way they can help them out.
It could also be done like in tutorials.
Yes, in tutorials.
Help those kids, I mean. Stand up.
Yeah, so Rita has a really good example of how we are addressing some of the questions that are at the board table today.
Just Rena.
Well, everybody but Rena has it already in her master schedule for moving forward.
Can I show it there, or?
No, because it has names, yes.
It has names.
Okay, so we got the data from 8th grade. Mr. Moreno shared it with us. It's called the student portfolio. It has every test they've ever taken, which is STAR. And historically, we see, has a student, passed or not passed, or even in 8th grade. So in the master schedule, we created some sections for retesters, especially because they hit us really hard in our percentages. As you can see, the first-time testers, they're covered with the actual Tier 1 instruction and with the interventions in the classroom. But the retesters are the ones that need that extra support, because if they took English 1 in 9th grade, didn't pass it. They took it again in summer school, didn't pass it. They took it again in 10th, didn't pass it. They took it again in December, and then again in the spring. So it's this child that hasn't passed it for 5 times that they've taken it, we really need to focus on these retesters and give them that support, which is what we did in the master schedule for next year. So we're providing about four sections, and then she has 2 and then 2, so about 8 sections for retesters in English only. I also have for algebra. Algebra, we have 1, but algebra, we have smaller numbers of retesters, so we're gonna provide that support also through the master schedule. Monday.
They find support like, one,
It's, sorry. It's,
go ahead, you were gonna
no,
answer.
yeah, it's the actual, it's the actual instructor. So Mrs. Royce is here, and she's in the master schedule. Let's say she has tier 1 instruction. We have 100 students. So we divide the 100 students into 5 sections. She has 8 sections, or 7. One of them is her conference. So the other 2, we give her small groups according to data. Those retesters, she taught them this year. So it'd be good for her for next year. She knows where they're at. She knows what they need. We already did the data from 3, 5, and 7, but we also have our other kids who are not that close that need that support too, because those become retesters for next year and they hit our numbers again. So those kids are also gonna get support with Ms. Guzman. I gave her 4 sections of just retesters, which she did really, she helped us with this year. But that's how we're providing the intervention for next year. That's the plan in the master schedule. Last year, I didn't have any sections for retesters. So it should really help them improve with the intervention.
How does the district track their progress? I mean, you know, at LDZ and Benito Juarez, you know, we have iStation that tracks their math and reading, right? What does the high school use and junior high use to track their progress in their courses?
We use unit exams. They're in DMAT. So they teach, they get a checkpoint, the teacher checks for understanding. It's a system we use where they put the unit exam in there, and then we extract reports, and then we see.
And so if they don't pass the unit exam, does the teacher then go back and focus on that one kid?
Yes.
Or how does that, I mean, do they stop teaching for the rest of the kids and focus on?
Yeah, they differentiate. They differentiate because they can't stop teaching the tier 1 instruction, right? So as much support as they can get for those kids, they'll spiral in, you know, and try to get whatever skill they didn't get and try to teach it to them while differentiating. I mean, it's hard work. It's for the teachers. It's difficult because they're all levels. Also in the master schedule for next year, we already broke it down by data. So we evenly distributed. We don't have one that's heavy in non-passers, right? We gave them some passers, medium, and then the really, so that way, as they're doing the tier 1 instruction, the tier 3, they can focus with that student a lot more in the classroom.
Is math like iStation, is it a computer-based test or is it a test on paper?
No, it's a unit exam where the teachers create it, or Mr. Moreno, when he was IC, would create it. And then that's input in the system. It's a key that the kids test online, and then it generates a report.
And then at junior high, there is still iStation.
iStation.
You still use iStation at junior high. It's really at high school. It's its own little monster, so you have to kind of address it with unit exams and.
Are there programs like iStation that can monitor and track high school students and?
We have Edmentum, it's a new one where it's a diagnostic. We're barely starting it. We purchased it the end of last year, so hopefully this year we'll see how it works. But it does help with the unit exams and all that DMAT data, and also the historical data, because the teachers get that too. It helps them.
I've heard of a program, MAPS, and then, do we have IXL?
We had IXL last year. It was not a program that was recommended for this year, for high school. It didn't meet their needs, so they're trying this new software out.
I know these softwares, they track out, they don't just track the core subjects, right? They track CTE programs and things like that as well, right? So,
For CTE, we have ISD right now.
has the district looked into, I mean, kind of using one for the entire district instead of just iStation and a separate one for high school? That's what kind of, I mean, I don't know if that affected us for anything.
In terms of iStation, because iStation is so tied to TIA right now, we will continue using it up to 8th grade. The equivalent of that for high school is IXL. IXL did not meet our needs. A lot of it was just the fidelity to the implementation of the software. This one seems to be working a little bit better. ISEV, in terms of CTE, is the monitoring of those programs and those curriculums is a little bit different from the way we track content. So we do need to have separate programs for different programs.
More questions or either, I have a question for Matthew.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Houston.
On the summer school that you're running, I mean, which students are you focusing in the elementary and
So the ones that we focused on were the level 3 iStation, which are the ones that are a little bit below approaches, so that way we can accelerate them to hopefully next year they'll be in the passing.
What we used to call the bubble.
The bubble.
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
And like in the elementary, I know it's what?
Like what are they using, or?
No, it's kinder through,
Kinder through 5th grade.
about how many kids are attending?
Right now, we have 162 kids that are attending the full program. I calculated a little this morning for just elementary, it was about 74 kids.
But you had a good turn.
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout at the elementary.
Like from 1 to 5th?
Yeah, from one, yeah, that would be the elementary. The elementary would be the 70 kids. And then the rest would be in high school.
High school.
It's been going pretty good.
Any more questions? If not, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Matthew.
Okay, number 10, informational item, the test B policies.
The TASB policy update 125, it's first reading. It does not require board action tonight, so it's in case, it's here in case you have any questions. Better than that, it's on first read.
I have a question, and I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't even pick that up and read it. But what is the new BDAA local officer and officials duties, and what's changing there?
Robert?
The BDA?
The very first one.
Yes. So that one is the duties and requirements of the officers. In case you do decide to create committees, it outlines a specific language of how many years you can be in that committee, or how you would actually go about holding the committee. That's the language that's new to this. And it deals with any committee that deals with specific board members in less than a quorum. In committees financial committees, student advisory committees, even participating in SBDM, as long as we're not in quorum, you all can participate, and it speaks to the language.
Okay.
Anything else on the policies?
BDA local, Robert, just clarification, this is policy regarding officers and officials' duties and responsibilities of board officers. So what it does is that it's asking us in our policy to look at the sentence indicating that the board may assign a district employee to provide clerical assistance. The recommendation is that we remove that section of that sentence because the superintendent, rather than the board, manages staff assignments, including providing support to the board. So that is the change that is being recommended to be DAA local.
Is the omission of one sentence?
That's being recommended by TESP.
Yes.
Any other major thing there, because it's too big to read.
Yeah, no,
So this is first reading,
it's first read only. It's informational.
gonna do 3 readings.
Yes.
Anything else? If not,
Thank you, Robert.
need a motion to
Thank you.
adjourn.
Motion.
Motion, Sammy, second.
Second.
Nina, questions, concerns? If not, all in favor? Thank you. It passes.
Aye.